Hello. Hi. I think we're live. I'm gonna check and make sure we're going live in the right place because it never tells me. Cool, we are. Awesome. Okay, you guys, I am so excited to be here teaching the 2020 version of hashtag like a boss. I've been wanting to do this update for quite some time. So I'm just excited that it is finally here. If you are here live, of course, say hello. A lot of you in this group already know me, which is awesome. We've been together for quite some time. Some people in this group are brand new to me, and for those of you, I want to say welcome, and I'm so happy that you are here. And I think that this training is going to be a great introduction to me and my amazing community of people and several other exciting things that are coming later on this year. So anyway, we are going to be getting to the training in just a second. I just want to say that if you have watched the first hashtag like a boss training, which is currently up in this group right now, I recorded the first hashtag like a boss last January. Oops, I just realized I do that all the time. I'm sure you guys could hear me, but let me just check. Okay. Hey, Lydia. Cool. I can see comments. Yeah, y'all feel free to tell me that you're here and that you can hear me okay. Where are you from? Where are you watching from? I would love to know. Hey, Lydia. Anyway, so like I was saying, if you've watched the first training, that's fantastic. This update is very, very similar to the very first training. There are a few updates for sure, and I go a bit deeper into some things that I didn't go into in the first training. And the reason why I share that is if you've watched the first training and you have no desire to watch this one, you're going to be fine. The research itself is the exact same. There are no changes. Some people think that the algorithm has changed, therefore your hashtag research needs to change. That's not true. It all works the exact same way. So as long as you know how to do the research itself, you're good. You do not have to watch this update. However, if you do desire some sort of refresher or there are a couple of faster ways I've found, especially to transfer lists from your document into HishHash that I'm going to be sharing in this training, and a few little tiny details that are definite updates that will be helpful. But I'm just saying, again, for my OGs who have watched the first training, if your hashtags are working well for you, this is not something that you have to take. This is just if you've never taken it before or if you desire some sort of refresher, okay? I see Sarah's here. Hey, Sarah. Yes, I could hear you the whole time. Thank you for letting me know, Lydia. I forget all the time that this is plugged in and I leave it on my desk. So I appreciate you letting me know. Awesome. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and get started. This will be probably anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half, just to give you an idea. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today we will be covering the following. Number one, hold on just a second. Why is this so? Can y'all see that? Okay, now y'all can see that better. There we go. It looked like it was cut off for a second. Okay, we're going to quickly go over why hashtags are important. Number two, we'll go over best practices that you can begin implementing into your strategy ASAP. Third thing that we're going to go through in this training are the different categories of hashtag lists that you should have for your specific business. 4, I will show you step-by-step how I do my own hashtag research and create and update my own lists. I'll walk you through that whole strategy and show you how you can do the exact same thing. 5, we will go through how to add all of your new lists and categories into the app that I use for hashtags, which is called HishHash. 6, We'll run through how you will, or how you can and will be eventually hashtagging like a boss on every single post that you make moving forward. And then of course, how to keep them fresh and working hard by updating your list periodically over time, every few months or so. Okay, and I do want to explain this because I saw that a few people were asking. This training specifically is for Instagram. Okay, everything from the research to the implementation, all of it will be for Instagram, because that is where hashtags will work the best for you for business purposes. Some people were asking about Facebook. And what I taught in the first training is that hashtags on Facebook, they just don't work. They're like, you can use hashtags on Facebook and you can search them, but they're not going to do much for you. So like I've never in a serious way actually used hashtags for Facebook for like real serious business purposes to be discovered. Now, I did want to address this for those that were curious. So I did do some research before today teaching this training, and some blogs will tell you that your hashtags will work on Facebook, but it is night and day different than Instagram. And it's mainly truly for bigger brands. And what they do is they'll choose like their own hashtag, or they'll use one event hashtag, usually one hashtag, no more than 3. And like I said, you can search them, but there's so much conflicting information. Some people say it's only for businesses, but whenever I search, I find personal posts. But I'm just saying, like, me, myself, and my colleagues, and anybody that I talk to, they just don't, they might use hashtags just out of habit, or because they're shared directly from Instagram or something like that. But they don't search hashtags on Facebook like they do on Instagram. Okay. So I just want to address that up front. This is for Instagram. This is where like your hashtags truly are like free advertising on Instagram. It behooves you to know what you're doing, because free advertising, and also if you use them improperly, it will hurt your reach. Okay. And if you don't use them at all, you're really losing a lot of opportunities to be found by ideal clients and customers. So this is for Instagram. Facebook, I encourage you to do your own research and see what you find, because it was very confusing for me and I just don't use them like that. And I know a lot of people don't either. But I just want to address that up front. And yes, Sarah, this will be available in the group forever until I do the next update. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you get a workbook with this training. It is here up in the Facebook group, and then wherever you bought it, whether you bought it online or on my website, you had the ability to directly download it from there too. So it's not absolutely necessary. I put your best practices on there. I put some space to brainstorm some hashtags right before you do your research and things like that. So if you do have it and you want to print it off, that would be awesome, but it's not necessary either. It's just a resource for you if you desire it. Also, this is new for this training, and a lot of you already have access to this, but I have added in and created 100 plus hashtag lists for you to use moving forward. These lists span over 14 categories, from beauty, makeup, skincare, to motivation, personal development, work from home, and several super niche categories as well. I created or updated all of these lists this month in May 2020. So they're all super thorough and well researched. So if you look in this group, you will see a post that was just posted last week. So it depends on when you bought hashtag like a boss. If you bought it recently at the $97 price point, you get this as part of the purchase. If you were in my round 2 of influence to income, you get this as a bonus, and I've already emailed you. If you bought hashtag like a boss like in the first round, when it was less than $97, This is something that you don't get automatically, but you can purchase for $40. So just look in this group and you can see it, but you get access. If you want it, you get access to all of these. Like I said, it's 101 very, very thorough lists. And what's great about this is it gives you a head start. You can go ahead and use them, but then you can use this training as a way to keep those lists updated and also learn the best practices so you know how you are doing them and so that you know that you are using them well and getting the most out of these lists, okay? So don't forget that this is available to you. Hey, Katie. Hey, Diane. Hey, Hillary. They are amazing. Good, Christian. I'm so happy you think so. Good to know. Awesome. Okay, so I'm about to dive into the training. Now, I want to hear your questions. I will be staying on after the training to answer any questions that you have live. So as you think of them, go ahead and type them in. But I do encourage you to maybe wait to hit submit for those questions until after the training, because this training is very thorough. We cover a lot of things. So just if there's something that I haven't covered yet, I bet I cover it later on in the training. But just know that if there is something that I do forget and you make it through, then of course let me know and ask, and I will get to those after the training. I'm going to stay on for whoever is on live right now. All right. Also, if there's anything that you learned new, any aha moments, anything awesome that you're excited about, I want to hear that too. I love that kind of feedback. So I want to hear from you guys. Keep me posted in the comments how you're feeling and all the things. Okay? Now, let's get to the good stuff. Let's get started on why hashtags are so important. And this is going to be really quick because you're here, you signed up for this, you get it, but I can't not explain this a little bit. So first of all, the reason why hashtags exist is so that Instagram can categorize and organize content. So there's over 1 billion Instagram users who post a lot of content. All of us individually post a lot of content. So if there was not a way for Instagram to categorize this content and make it searchable, it would just be a big mess. And honestly, it'd be like a huge, not a waste, but it would just be a big jumbled mess. So hashtags is a way for all of us to categorize our content so people like you and I who need specific content can go and search for it and find our new favorite influencer or product or service by searching these hashtags. Hashtags are also an effective and free way to grow your audience. I want you to start thinking of hashtags as individual audiences themselves. So if you are allowed to use up to 30 hashtags per post, which you are, that is 30 different audiences you are showcasing your content to. And if you aren't using hashtags on your posts at all, or if you aren't using them wisely, which we're going to talk about, then you're essentially throwing away several opportunities to further expand your audience and customer base. And according to later.com, a post with at least one hashtag averages 12.6 more engagement than posts without a hashtag. That's just one hashtag. And personally, my posts, and whenever I look at my analytics, my posts that I use hashtags on will get up to 3 times my typical reach and I average around 8 to 10 new followers each post that I use hashtags. So it really is worth creating a hashtag strategy for your brand if you want to increase your engagement on your posts and visibility to new potential followers. So just one hashtag, you can get up to 12.6 more engagement. Imagine 30 hashtags, right? If they're all the correct population size and things like that, of course. So it's worth it. However, it's important that I point out here that just because you do everything in this training and research and pick the best hashtags for your content, all of that does not guarantee that you're going to end up in the top posts for that hashtag, which is the goal. If you end up in the top posts for a hashtag, that means when somebody else is searching, they'll see your post up at the top of the screen, which is what we want. That's how you get discovered. And a lot of people assume that they can throw hashtags on their content and they'll go viral or they'll gain a bunch of followers. But you have to remember that your content still has to stand out for the hashtag, or maybe you don't know that. So you have to understand that your content still has to stand out for that hashtag, right? Otherwise, no one is going to tap on it and read the post or want to follow you. Okay, so I just want to say here that your hashtags can truly be your best ally when it comes to reaching and attracting new ideal followers, but they won't do you much good if your content itself is lacking. And the factor that plays the biggest role in determining whether a post gets into that top post for hashtags or for a hashtag is how much quick engagement it gets. So if your followers are showing love to your post and commenting and liking and saving and sharing, and you've chosen the right hashtags, you are very likely to land in the top posts for that hashtag or for one or several of your hashtag selections. But it is definitely a team effort. Okay, you have to have, your content has to be good and decent and eye-catching, and the hashtags have to be right. And then once those are together, it will work incredibly well, but it's definitely a team effort. And don't worry, I'm going to explain more on how to get up into those top posts here soon. So let's talk about best practices that you should keep in mind when creating your hashtag lists and using them on your posts. First things first, do not copy and paste the same hashtag lists onto all of your posts. One of the things that's a huge red flag on Instagram is spammy behavior. And sometimes they will reprimand accounts for behaving in a spammy way. So using the same hashtags for all of your posts or for a lot of them is considered spammy behavior. Not to mention, it's important to use hashtags that are relevant to what you're posting about. Otherwise, your content can be reported to Instagram, and I'm going to show you how that works in a few slides. So the best rule of thumb is to have several different categories of lists for your specific business and content that you share, and use an app to shuffle new lists for every single post, which we're going to go over. Like I said, you want to create multiple categories of hashtag lists up front and then shuffle a new list for each post using the categories that are relevant to what you're posting about. And whenever I say relevant, I mean if you're sharing about a skincare routine, but you accidentally add hashtags like hashtag motivational quote or hashtag outfit of the day, those two tags have nothing to do with the skincare routine unless you've somehow worked that into the content, right? So you wouldn't want to include them in your list for that post, and here's why. We all now have the ability to follow hashtags to keep up with specific content. And if you do follow some hashtags, Instagram is going to show you top posts from that hashtag in your Instagram feed, even though you aren't following them. This is a great way to discover new accounts and profiles that we possibly want to follow. And even better, this is one of the best ways that your content and profile can be discovered by new ideal clients and customers. So some people ask me, Allie, how do I expect my content to be found from hashtags when I don't even personally search hashtags, right? Like sometimes I will and sometimes other people will, but people search them more than other people. But a lot of people now are following specific hashtags because they do want to keep up with that kind of content. So maybe they don't go and search that hashtag, but if they're following a hashtag and if your post makes it into a top post for that hashtag because you do all of this well, your picture is going to show up in their feed even though they don't follow you yet. So let's say I use a hashtag for some of my content, but somebody doesn't know me yet, but they're following that hashtag. They're going to be scrolling on Instagram, see my post, be like, oh, wow, that's really good. Who's Allie Reeves? Click on my profile, see that I post a lot of stuff that they need for their business and follow me. Okay, so you can be discovered two different ways whenever you do this really well. However, If you or someone else is following a specific hashtag and a post shows up in their feed that clearly isn't relevant for that hashtag, we all have the ability to hit the don't show for this hashtag button. And I'll show you on the screen here. Let me show you what this looks like. So you can see it's over here. Whoops, move this over. Here we go. So let's say you are following the hashtag MomLifeBeLike, okay? And you can see top post right here. But let's say you're scrolling and you all of a sudden see a post that doesn't make sense for that hashtag. We all have the ability to click on these three dots up here and click the don't show for this hashtag. So you're essentially saying, hey, this does not make sense for this specific hashtag. And what this does is, this helps Instagram better filter content that it shows in your feed. But if you were to get too many of these tags on your own content, like let's say you weren't paying attention with your hashtags and you probably weren't meaning to, but you were posting a lot of, or you're using hashtags in the wrong way and a lot of your content wasn't relevant and too many people reported you for that reason, it's going to send, basically, it's like a huge red flag to Instagram. It's going to eventually start hurting the reach on the rest of your content because this is telling Instagram that you're being spammy. Okay, so this is why you want to pay attention to this training and you always want to double check your list and make sure that every tag makes sense for that post before you actually post them on the content. All right. Next best practice. It is okay to use up to 30 hashtags per post. Instagram would not allow us to use up to 30 hashtags if they did not think it was okay. So back in the day, a lot of people argued that you weren't supposed to or that that's spammy, but it's not true. Instagram just wouldn't allow it if they didn't want us to. However, some people would still argue that using less hashtags, like around 15 to 20 or 20 to 25, works better. I personally have tried both ways, and it's hard to say for sure which is best because there are several factors that play into how well your posts perform. So for this one, I encourage you to get curious and test this for yourself. The next best practice is you can post your hashtags either within your caption or in a comment after you post it. Both work just as well. I usually prefer posting mine in the first comment so that they don't distract from my caption. Plus, I post really long captions and I usually don't have space. But this one is also up to you. However, this best practice is super important. So listen up. If you decide to put your hashtags in the first comment instead of within the caption, you want to post your hashtags as quick as possible after you post, like within the first minute of hitting post. The reason why is because once you post, Instagram goes to work immediately doing all the algorithm things, right? And you essentially reset the algorithm when you add hashtags later or when you edit anything on your post at all. So let's say you hit post and you see that you spelled something wrong or you forgot to add something or you want to add hashtags or something like that, and you go and you edit the post, you are basically stopping it in the algorithm to fix it. And then once you hit post, it resets it again. The problem with this is how Instagram determines whether your content is high quality content or not is how fast you get engagement. Okay, so the goal always is right after you hit post, you want engagement to crank in like immediately, best case scenario. But if you edit anything on that post, if you change a typo, if you add something in, or if you add hashtags in that first comment too late, it is going to reset and it's going to take longer for that engagement to pour in, and it will overall hurt your engagement and your reach. It's going to negatively affect it all. So again, it's totally fine to add hashtags in the first comment, but I encourage you to already have a list made and ready to copy and paste right before you hit post so that you can paste it in the first comment as quickly as possible. And I will show you exactly how I do that in a video toward the end of this training. Good morning, Missy. Thank you so much. I miss you. And by the way, you guys, like I said, any questions you all, definitely put them in the comment box. I'm going to be glancing over, but so I don't get distracted and so I can quickly get this out for people who watch in the future. I will wait to the end to answer any questions, just so you know. Okay, this best practice is another biggie that a lot of people mistakenly look over. And again, why it's important to do some hashtag research, because if you are throwing random hashtags off the top of your head onto your posts, some of them are probably very popular, which means that they have a lot of posts that use that hashtag. And the reason why this is a problem is because the more popular a hashtag is, the harder it'll be to be found within that hashtag, because so many posts are being added to it every hour or every minute for super popular hashtags. So there's just a ton of turnover. Even in the top posts, the more popular a hashtag is, that means that there's faster turnover, which means that you stay in those top posts for less amount of time. All right, so like I said, anytime you use a hashtag, the goal is to hit in the top post. You want to be, whenever somebody searches a hashtag, you want to be up here on the top post, because that means that everybody and their mama, when they search that hashtag, is going to see you for however long you're up there in the top post. So depending on what hashtag or how popular it is, you could be in a top post for an hour to a few hours to sometimes a couple of weeks, depending on how niche a hashtag is. So some of you might have used a hashtag before and a piece of content of yours is still getting engagement, even though you posted it weeks or months ago. And I can guarantee that's why, because you're somewhere in a top post for a hashtag, which is great. That's how you continue getting that engagement. Now, like I said, the more popular a hashtag, the more turnover. So this is why you don't want to make a post and then just off the top of your head say, okay, this is about makeup, so I'm going to put hashtag makeup. That's what we all used to do it, right? You don't want to, because if you search makeup on Instagram, as you can see, there are 280 million posts that use that hashtag. And a lot of you probably aren't as familiar with hashtag populations as I am, but I've been doing a lot of research on it. And let me tell you, 280 million is probably one of the most popular hashtags there is. That is crazy, crazy big. Okay, so that's crazy. So like makeup, if you do somehow land on a top post, you're not going to be up there very long. But if you were to do just a little bit of hashtag research, you would find so many other better, less popular hashtags that you could rank in that would make just as much sense, if not more sense for your content. So you can see makeup versus eyeshadow look, right? Both would still, of course, you wouldn't want to use eyeshadow look unless you were specifically talking about eyeshadow. But if you were, that would be a much better choice for your content, because it only has 233,000 posts. And if you were to look at these posts, like I said, these, and I did look, these were up, this one was posted literally like 5 seconds before I found it. This one was posted like 10 minutes before, 15 minutes. It's just like that constant turnover. These were hours. So it's more of an opportunity that you're taking advantage of when you do that research. Okay, so for all of us, we want to be intentional about choosing hashtags with appropriate population sizes. And by the way, this number on this slide is an update from last year's training. So if you have the workbook, I think this number needs to be changed in the workbook as well. I'm pretty sure in the workbook and in last year's training, I said that I wanted you to keep it 500K and less. But now I've changed that answer just because things have shifted a bit. And I'll explain why in just a second, okay? So just take note that if you're rewatching this, this number has changed and you will want to change this in your workbook. Now, a lot of people, myself included, trust me, wish that they had a guide to tell them exactly what population size range is right for their specific audience size, right? Like, okay, if you have 0 to 1,000 followers, you need to use this population range. You can only use 1,000 to 5,000 population range. If you have 1,000 followers to 5,000, you can only use this, right? And you used to see those, and I've tried to make them myself. But fact of the matter is, and I've done a lot of research on this, for hours, by the way. For what I can gather, and from my experience and testing this myself, those ranges are hard to find because one, they're arbitrary numbers. Okay, Instagram does not come out and tell any of us, hey, this is exactly what to do. Like, this is how to rank on a top post. They don't want to make that obvious because all of us would be doing it and then it wouldn't be really as fair, right? They have like the algorithm and things set for a reason so that the best content rises to the top and we can't fake it. Okay, so any of those ranges that you might find out there, they're arbitrary. And then they're just, people don't know, like I said. So they're arbitrary and they don't know. And number two, and most importantly, the size of your audience is not the indicator of whether or not you end up in a top post. And that's surprising to a lot of people. And I used to think this too. I used to think that if you had less than 10,000 followers, you didn't want to use like hashtags with a population of 1 million or more because there was no way you could rank. But it's actually come out now that that's not true. You can, whether you have 10,000 followers or 1,000 or 500 followers, you can end up in a top post because it's not about your audience size. Otherwise, all of us with smaller audiences would be screwed. There would be no point to use hashtags. So Instagram wanted to level the playing field. And they said, actually, how you end up in a top post is the rate of engagement that you get. And here's proof of this. So as you can see, I was trying to think of like one of the most popular hashtags I could think of. And I thought of hashtag happy. It has 575 million posts under it. Very popular. I looked this morning, and the top post for this, as you can see, this girl right here has only 1.2 thousand followers. Very, very small audience size. This chick, 51,000. Very good, pretty high audience size. This girl, 2,000. So you can see, and even further down here, it was more so like in the 1 to 10,000 audience size range. So I just wanted to demonstrate to you that, again, it has nothing to do with your audience size. You can choose and use very popular hashtags. And I think, we're going to talk about this in 2 seconds. I think it's a good idea to mix it up. But this is why it is so important to make sure that you are posting good quality content. Because if you post something and your engagement tanks, your own audience doesn't like that content, the hashtags aren't going to help you much, honestly. Okay, so the content is very important. And the most important thing is that rate of engagement. So from all of my research and testing, a good rule of thumb as of 2020 is to try and choose the majority of your hashtags with a population of somewhere between 100K and 1 million, give or take, okay? And that is an incredibly broad number and range, I know, but I've made it that broad because it's okay to have a lot of variation in that list. It is a good thing. Would I choose 575 million population for a hashtag? I wouldn't go that high. I would not go that broad. There are so many more better hashtags. All right, so it's okay to mix in a few tags with higher population, like 1 to 2 million. But just remember, the point of hashtags is to be found by your ideal client. And you will greatly increase the odds of them finding you by paying attention to the number when doing research so that you stay closer to the top of the hashtag, of those hashtags, for a longer period of time. And then on the other hand, you also don't want to choose too many hashtags with too small of audiences. Because if you think about it, not many people are using these hashtags, right? Otherwise, the population would be higher. And then again, chances are not many people are searching for those hashtags either. So they may be a wasted opportunity. So I would be cautious choosing tags with less than 10,000 posts under them. And the only exceptions here are certain niche hashtags that people would search if they were looking for something very specific, like hashtag baby sign language or something with a location, like Nashville Botox. Okay, it makes sense that those two aren't used a bunch or they're not very popular because, again, they're super, super niche. Not many people are looking for baby sign language, but if they were, they would search baby sign language hashtag. That makes perfect sense. Not too many people comparatively are searching for hashtag Nashville Botox or Botox in Nashville. But if they were, what do you think the first hashtag they would look for? Nashville Botox, right? That'd be one of the first ones. So those are definitely exceptions to this rule, but I want to explain how that would work. And as you can see, Nashville Botox has just over 1,000 posts, baby sign language a little bit more. But if that makes sense for your business, you would totally want to use those. And we'll talk more about those categories here in a minute. Okay, the next best practice. I know that a lot of y'all get frustrated when the bulk of your audience and new followers are your peers or in the same industry as you. So when creating some of your hashtag lists, I want you to put yourself in your ideal client's shoes and try and choose hashtags that she would search and then include those in the bulk of your posts so she can find you. Okay, this is why I have you create multiple categories of hashtags so that you include your niche and target audience, which will both help you be discovered more easily, which we're going over here in the next topic. All right, so remember, get to know your ideal client, put yourself in her shoes. What hashtags would she be searching? Try and get creative. Maybe go look on her profile and see if there's ways to incorporate those hashtags into your content because she might be following some of those hashtags, which means that you could be showing up in her feed if she doesn't follow you yet. So it's kind of a little ninja trick there. Another thing to keep an eye out for when doing your hashtag research are banned hashtags. Instagram bans hashtags from time to time if a lot of users are posting inappropriate content under that specific hashtag. And if you accidentally use a hashtag that's banned in your list, it's just going to null and void your whole list for that post. Okay, so you're none, like even if it's just one that's banned, none of them will work for that post if one of them is banned. So it's just a complete missed opportunity. And if you don't pay attention to your analytics and if you keep using banned hashtags frequently, this is yet another red flag spammy behavior that could hurt the rest of your content. Okay, so one of the biggest hashtags that has been banned forever that a lot of people don't realize and a lot of people use is hashtag beauty blogger. All right, so if you were to search beauty blogger right now, you would search it in Instagram and you would see there are 16 million posts under it. And I don't know why some of them rank. It's very strange why Instagram still shows that. I don't know why. But if you click on recent over there, it will say recent posts from beauty blogger are currently hidden because the community has reported some content that does not meet Instagram's community guidelines. Okay, so if you use hashtag beauty blogger, it's going to screw your whole list up. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I know if one of them's banned? Like whenever you're doing your research, which of course I'll show you how to do the research. But the first thing that tips it off for me is if I'm researching a hashtag And down here, they do not give you examples of similar relevant hashtags, which you'll see. 9 times out of 10, Instagram will give you a list right under here with similar hashtags. That is my first tip point. That's like, something's funky here. And then I'll click over to recent. And if there are no recent posts, do not use it. Don't do it. It's banned. Okay. Just delete it from your list altogether. But that's usually the first sign that something's funky, and then just click on recent. Or you can do what I do, and it takes one extra step. But anytime I'm researching my hashtags, every single one that I'm researching, I click on recent just to make sure. All right. Let me move myself from here. Show you guys this. So this is another way. Let's say, okay, so when you do your hashtag research, you'll be able to see up front if any tags you're wanting to use are banned. And of course, you'll want to not include those in your list, what I just showed you. But let's say you choose a hashtag, and then later on at some point, one of those hashtags became banned, which might happen. How do you know at that point after your research? What do you do? So this has happened to me, and it's not a big deal. But again, this is why you want to keep an eye on your analytics, because it will become very obvious to you if something is wrong with your list. So let me show you. Over here on the left, this is a post where my hashtags did not register because one of them was banned. Okay. So luckily I checked that list, or I checked my analytics, and you have to have a business account to see this. So I checked my list, I checked my analytics, and over here you will see if you've used hashtags, there should be a category under here that shows you a number from hashtags. But over here, even though I used hashtags, there was not an option for hashtags over here, which means that they did not register at all. So I got additional reach, but none of it was from hashtags. And that told me, okay, one of those hashtags must have been banned. So at that point, I go to that list of hashtags that I used on that post, and I go through and I see which one is banned, and I make sure that I delete it from my list on Hash, which I'm going to show you how to do. But over here on the right, this is an example of hashtags that have worked really well. So for me, and this number, of course, is going to vary for all of us. But for me, whenever my hashtags are working well, they are well over 1,000. So this is almost 1,700 new people, or, new people that saw my posts from hashtags alone. They were not following me. All right, so that is what we want to see. We want to see a number close to 1,000, if not over the 1,000 point for hashtags over here. And that's a good indicator that they're working well. Now, if you've done your lists well and your content is up to par, your hashtag reach should, like I said, be in the upper hundreds, if not definitely in the thousands. A low hashtag number tells me one of two things. One, so look over here. Now, my hashtags, they registered, but that number is low. 23, that is not normal. Okay, and this, by the way, you have to wait until at least 24 hours to get an accurate number on this. Okay, so don't look an hour after you post and expect this number to be high. It's going to take some time, but about 12 to 24 hours or so, you could look at that number. And if it's that low, that's telling me something's wrong. Nothing's banned, but something is wrong. And that means one of two things. One, your hashtags are either way too popular to where you're not ranking, or not popular enough, or your content is lacking in some way. So I would go back, I would do a little bit more research, try and maybe get better hashtags in your lists, or just use mine because I've done the research and they're really good. Or take a honest look at your content and say, would this stand out for that hashtag? Is the picture good? Is the caption good? Did my own audience love it? Did they respond to it? Because again, if your audience didn't love it and the engagement was kind of low, you're not going to do great for hashtags either. So that's something to keep in mind. People will see that number and freak out. And it's definitely because of one of two of those things. Okay, so you can use, like I said, or no, I haven't said this. This is new. Another best practice. You can use up to 10 hashtags in your stories. And then you can also hide them behind stickers and GIFs. This is something that a lot of people don't know. Now, before I show you the video, I'm going to explain. I personally do not use hashtags often in my stories, if ever. Sometimes I do it for fun, like if I'm being ironic or funny. I might use a hashtag. I've tested them out, and personally, I just haven't gotten enough engagement or followers or really anything at all for me to actually take the time to post up to 10 on my stories. Now, I want you to test this out for yourself, but I will say I think the time that you should consider it is if you're at some sort of event that you know a lot of people are following that hashtag and they want maybe like a glimpse into the event. That's a time to use like the event hashtag on your stories, or like on the first story of a series, so new people can see it and discover you. Or if you are demonstrating or teaching something, right? Because people might discover you through that hashtag there too. And it just doesn't hurt to try. But I just want to say up front, I personally don't spend a lot of time on this. Some people might, but I still want to show you how to do this because I always want you to be curious and test these things out for yourself. All right, so let's say nope. That you are at an event. I don't know what just happened there. Gosh, come on, computer. There we go. All right, so let's say that you are at an event or you are teaching something or demonstrating in your stories that you want to add some hashtags to so other people can discover your stories and discover the awesome content that you create. So you'll be in your stories like you normally are and how you do. And then once you record or you take your picture or you do whatever, then what you will do is you will go up to the big A, little a, and you will type in your hashtags. Hashtag social media tip. Hashtag work from home life, right? You can do up to 10. Now, if you don't want people to see this, you can move this around like you would normal text. And if you want to, you can minimize it. I read that you can't go too small because Instagram will not use it. So you don't want to make them too small, but you can move them wherever. And then you'll hit on that little post-it smiley face, and you can add one of these stickers down here, or a GIF, or a countdown, or whatever. You just pick one of these. Well, that one wouldn't work, would it? Let's try a different one because you don't want it to be see-through. So let's say you want to use that, and then you can just hide it with that GIF. You don't have to do that. Oops, I accidentally deleted it. You don't have to hide it if you don't want to, but some people don't want people to see the hashtags that they're using. And in that case, you can hide it with a sticker or a GIF and post it, and you'll be good to go. And the way that you will be able to see if people are finding you through those hashtags is once you check your analytics on Instagram. Let's say, let me open up my stories. Okay, once you check your analytics, and how you do that is you go to whatever story you added the hashtags on. I don't have any that I have hashtags, but what you can do is just swipe up on that story. It'll show you all of your viewers. And then if you click over to the little bar graph looking thing to the left, you can see your analytics. And it will tell you, where will it tell you? Actually, it will tell you over here. If there are people that viewed it from the hashtag, it'll be at the top. It'll tell you how many hashtag viewers, which is kind of cool. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to fix this. Okay, so whenever I drag that video over, I just messed something up. So just a second, let me get it back to where we had it and fix this. Or you are teaching something or demonstrating. Technology, y'all. Okay, hold on just a second. Sorry, guys. It's not a live training if there's not some sort of tech difficulty, right? Let me just pull this back up to where I was, and then we'll get going. I know exactly what I did. So that's where we were. We're going to go to presenter view. Cool. Go here. There we go. We're back to normal now. Awesome. And then pop back up over here. Perfect. Thank you for your patience. Okay, next best practice and last best practice before we dive into categories and research. You can use hashtags in your bio. Okay, oops. Can you guys hear me now? Yikes. Okay, I don't know if I was just muted, but I'm sorry if I was. There was a little bit of, I messed something up. So anyway, let's just get back to it. I apologize for that mix up. But like I said, or maybe you didn't hear this, but you can use hashtags in your bio. And by the way, this is the last best practice. And then we're going to dive into categories in the research. Okay, so you can use hashtags in your bio. But I do want to explain this really, really quickly. You have to remember this. Anytime you put anything in your bio, you don't want it to distract people or lead people away from your profile. So sometimes I will see people, like let's say they're a Rodan and Fields consultant, they might put hashtag Rodan and Fields in their bio. And I understand that they're proud and they're excited to showcase the company that they're working for, and that can be for any company. But that's not their hashtag, right? And that hashtag, no doubt, has thousands of posts under it. So if somebody is visiting your profile and clicks on that hashtag, they're going to be led away from your content, and then they're going to be distracted and thrown into a new world of thousands of other people's content. So you really don't want to do that. The only time I ever encourage anybody to use a hashtag in their bio is if it is their own hashtag, right? Like I wouldn't put on there like hashtag wanderlust or something like that, because same thing, you're just leading people away from your content and your profile. But if it is one of your own, like for instance, I used to have hashtag 6-figure influencer on my bio because that's my hashtag. And anytime people would click on it, they would see content for my podcast. But since then, I've taken it away because even then, I don't want people to be led away from the profile. I want them to stay focused and focus on the content that's right there. So even though you can put a hashtag on your bio, I really don't recommend it unless it is your own. All right, finally, we are moving on to hashtag categories that will help you create well-rounded, solid hashtag lists. So you are going to have several different categories of hashtag lists that are specific to you and your business and the content that you will be sharing on Instagram. So you'll have your categories, and then under each of those categories, you are going to have lists of hashtags. So this is the first part of that process, are your categories. So the first hashtag category that you'll want to have, and you probably use these already, are your industry tags, which is the general business that you're in. So for example, wellness industry, fitness, fashion, blogging, the wedding industry, real estate, those are all industry categories. So you would choose the ones that make the most sense for your specific industry. That's going to be one of your categories. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be one. It could be, you could have multiple categories under the industry umbrella. So if you're in fitness, you could have like fitness, wellness, nutrition, right? It could be like all these different categories would make sense under the industry umbrella. The second category is the niche slash target audience. And this is the one that I want you to spend the most time on because, again, I know a lot of y'all struggle with finding hashtags that attract people other than who are working within your industry. And this is the category that's going to help you get out of that. So when forming the niche and target list, do some good research and stalk your ideal client, like I mentioned, and look at the hashtags that she frequently uses and see if you can incorporate some into your list as well, and try and guess what kind of content she would be searching or following on Instagram that would also make sense for your specific business. The product and service category is pretty self-explanatory, but you'll want to keep these separate and specific. So for instance, if you work for a company that sells skincare and makeup, you will want one or a few makeup categories and then the same for skincare. That way, if you're posting about a makeup product, you won't accidentally throw skincare hashtags on the post and then risk getting told on by a disgruntled Instagram scroller. Same thing if you are a coach and you offer coaching, but you also sell digital products. You will want to create separate lists for each. This will help you stay relevant, but it also increases the odds that you've included a hashtag or hashtags that a potential customer and client is searching for whenever they're looking for that specific thing that you have to offer. Another category you'll want to consider is a content category. So if you create specific pieces of content for your audience, you will want to create a category for each of those too. Like if sometimes you create blogs or inspirational videos or tips for moms or how-to instructional videos, you are going to want to have a set of tags for each of those to categorize that content for anybody searching for it. And then finally, the location category is especially important if you have or if you sell a product or service locally, or if you have a brick and mortar. With these, you will want to go broad with more popular hashtags, but also find ones that are really specific as well. So as you can see, I have on here hashtag. So let's say you sold skincare and makeup in Nashville, then it would be totally fine to have some broad hashtags like hashtag Nashville, Tennessee, but then get more specific. Davidson County, Middle Tennessee, and then surrounding areas like Franklin, Brentwood, Tennessee, hashtag Nashville skincare, hashtag Nashville makeup, right? You'd want to do some research, which I'll show you how to do. And then kind of go broad and more specific with those location hashtags. All right, so now it is time to talk about conducting good hashtag research so you can create those good, solid lists for each of those categories that you are going to make or that you've made or will make for your business. Okay, so we've made our categories. Now it's time to fill those categories with the lists of hashtags. So before I research and find the best hashtags, the first thing I do is I brainstorm out a couple for each category because this helps me choose which hashtags to research first. So sometimes, like if you don't do the brainstorming up front, it's almost like going blindly into something. You just don't really know. It could be really it's a lot easier, and you get, in my experience, a lot more of those thorough, good, meaty lists when you do just a little bit of brainstorming up front, because then you have more variation on the hashtags that you actually research. Okay. So you can do the brainstorming in your workbook that I gave you or in a scrap piece of paper, Or you can do what I do and just keep it all on the Google spreadsheet, because this is going to allow you to very easily transfer them later on into the app that you're going to be using to create and shuffle hashtag lists on Instagram. So I just keep this all on a Google spreadsheet. But for the brainstorming, if you just wanted to off the top of your head do it on a sheet of paper, that's fine too. Now, I want to address the Google Sheet really quickly, because this is another change from the first training that I did a year and a half ago. So in the last training, I explained that you can do this on any spreadsheet. You can do this on Numbers. If you have a Mac, you can do this in Excel or whatever. But the only issue with that is at some point you have to get them on your phone. You have to get the whole list on your phone so that you can transfer them into HishHash, because it's a mobile app. So if you were to use Numbers, which is what I always used to use, you had to do this whole extra step where you had to transfer from Numbers to your Notes app in your phone to HishHash. It was just 3 steps. It was definitely tedious. But since then, I realized that if you just from the go use Google Sheets, which is free to all of us, you just have to have a Google email, which is free to get if you don't have one right now. You get access to Google Sheets. And if you use Google Sheets from the start, then you can skip a whole step, and it all transfers seamlessly from your phone into the app that we're going to use. So I highly recommend just to start from square one on Google Sheets, because it's going to be a lot more easy for you. But if you do have it in Numbers for Apple or Excel, you can always transfer into Google Sheets, or just transfer, copy and paste into the Notes app of your phone and then into HishHash too. It's just one extra step. Okay, so in Sheets, this is what your categories will look like. Just to give you an idea, I would go ahead and say, okay, I'm gonna have a work from home category, a mompreneur, direct sales, social media courses, coaching, right? I'll go ahead, have those ready to go before I do my research. Before I do my brainstorming. Now, whenever I go to do my brainstorming, like I said, you could do this on a sheet of paper or in that Google Sheets. But just off the top of my head, I say, okay, for mompreneurs or for direct sales, what are some of the first hashtags that come to mind? Don't worry if they're too popular or too specific. That doesn't matter. We're just brainstorming right now. So I recommend coming up with 3 to 6 off the top of your head. So for mompreneurs, off the top of my head, hashtag mompreneur, hashtag boss mom, mom hustle, work from home mom, hashtag my own boss, right? Just brainstorm and then move on to the next category. So for products and services that you sell, hashtag Instagram course, hashtag social media course. You're just brainstorming, just come up with a few things that you think of and move on. And you are going to do that for all of your categories before you then do your research. Now, finally, we are ready to do some of the real research. So you are going to want to expand your lists under each of those categories to at least 10 to 15 hashtags. Some of my lists and the ones that I've given you all access to, you'll see have 30 plus hashtags in them. The more the merrier. You can go on as much as you want. It truly just depends on how many there are out there. So more niche subjects will probably yield less hashtag results, and that's okay, and vice versa. Now, I'm going to show you how I do my own hashtag research on my computer, but you can also do this on your phone too. And then I will show you how to add them to your Google document as you go. This. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how I do my research on Instagram and then create these good, thorough lists that I will then eventually put into HishHash. So this is just an example. Normally I would probably have a few more categories for my business. And I would also have, 3 to 5 brainstorm ideas under each category to get me started with my research. But I just want to have, I brainstormed 3 ideas for mompreneur, and we're going to do some research on mompreneurs really quickly to show you how I do this on Instagram. So like I said, okay, I know that I want to do a category for mompreneur. I brainstormed just off the top of my head. Mompreneur, boss mom, mom hustle. So this gives me 3 things to search, which will give me different results and different hashtags, which is really helpful to get like those good, thorough lists. All right, so we're going to start with the mompreneur. So I'm going to click over here to Instagram, and all I'm going to do is in the search bar, I'm going to type in mompreneur. You don't have to put the hashtag if you don't want to. And you will see, just scroll, and then eventually you'll see the hashtag mompreneur. And actually it'll probably be faster if you go ahead and do that. There we go. So we'll click there. And this is a pretty smaller population hashtag, only 30.5 thousand, but that's good. That's not bad. So we're going to go from here, but I guarantee you we'll find some hashtags with much larger populations. So I'm going to start with the first one that I see that makes sense for mompreneur, that would make sense in this list. So work from home mama, that makes sense. I would totally add that to the list. But before I add it to this list, I'm going to click on work from home mama. That has 44,196. I'm going to make sure that it's not banned. It's not. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add that to the list. Even though that's a pretty small population, I'm still going to add it to the list. So I'm going to put, what was that? Work from home mama. Okay. But then instead of going deeper just yet, because as you can imagine, each hashtag is going to give you several different related hashtags until you get really, really specific. So as you can imagine, you can just kind of like go through this wormhole of hashtags. But I want to stay pretty focused. So I'm going to just go back. I'm going to hit on that arrow to go back to that first page. And then I'm going to see what the next hashtag is. Mompreneur lifestyle. I feel like that would also make sense for that list. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. Make sure it's not banned. We're good. So I'm going to add that to the list as well. I'm going to go back. Mom CEO. Okay. Now these are pretty small, so I'm going to try and find some bigger population hashtags. Like I know Boss Babe Life, that will be bigger. Where did we go to? Well, we'll stay focused for just a second. Okay, now I searched mompreneurs. So notice this. There are different variations of words, mompreneur, mompreneurs. Now, the first thing I searched was mompreneurs, which is why that's so small. Mompreneur, I guarantee you, is going to be bigger. So let's check mompreneur. A little bit bigger, 69,000. So we'll add that to the list as well. Oh, I already did that. Okay, I meant to put mompreneurs then. Okay, so now we got mompreneurs. Go back. Now, work from home moms, let's see this one. We'll do that one too. That makes sense. Yep. All right. Now, I'm going to go back. And for mompreneurs, I've exhausted the suggestions. I've looked through all of the ones that make sense. Notice how I didn't add small business marketing. I feel like that would make sense under maybe a different category, but specifically for mompreneurs, I did not add it to that list. So I've exhausted this list. Now I'm going to go to my second idea over here, boss mom. And I'm going to search hashtag boss mom. Much bigger list or population hashtag, 1.2 million. As long as it's not banned, it's not, I'm going to add that to the list because it's good to have a good mix, and 1.2 million is not too big. So we're going to keep that one on there. Now let's see what some of the suggestions are. Mompreneur, we already have that one. Mompreneur Life, I don't think we have that one, so let's check that one. Much bigger population, and I love that size, so I'm definitely going to add that one. Perfect. Oops. Sometimes it will finish and you don't want it to. It'll populate a different word and you don't want it to. So just make sure that you pay attention to that. Now, for all of my lists, I try and get at the very least 10 hashtags. That's actually only 9. So I would do one more. But mompreneur, as you can see, I mean, these could go on forever probably, right? Like mom hustle. You're just gonna, I would for sure keep that on the list, and then I would go deeper into all these. You can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's fine. A lot of the hashtags that I made available to you all, if you got them, they have upwards of 20, 30 to 40 posts just because they're so meaty. I think the mompreneur has like 30 or 40 hashtags under it, and that's great. And that's fine. So you would just, I would get to, once I get to around 30 or 40, I usually stop and I'll just update them later on. But for now, just for this example, I'm going to stop. So just know that this one, whenever you see so many suggestions under every single hashtag and you know that you can go deeper and deeper, that's awesome. Make yourself a good list, but then move on, because if you have like, you know, over 40 or 50, it's going to be too much anyway. It really wouldn't make a huge difference. So that's good if you can find a lot of hashtags for one category. Now, like I said, some of your categories are not going to be as meaty because they're simply more niche or more focused, and there's just not a lot of options. So for example, sun damage. I know that sun damage, because I've made this list, there aren't many options. So I'm just going to show you to give you an idea of what that looks like. So if we were to search sun damage, 213,000, that's good. Okay, so I would add sun damage to the list. But then you can see that the hashtags, they're skincare related, but they're not specifically sun damage related, right? Like if you have a sun damage category, of course you're going to have skincare, right? Like you're going to have a general skincare category, but like I know that a lot of the women that I work with who do sell skincare, who are in the skincare industry, they're going to have posts that are specifically about sun damage, specifically about oily skin, and so on. So in that case, I would have categories for each. So I would leave advanced skincare off. I would leave at-home facial, skin medica. I would leave those off except for maybe like skin cancer awareness. Let's check on that one. Okay, that's a good population. What was that? Skin cancer awareness. All right, and then you can see skin cancer prevention, melanoma awareness month, protect your skin. That's probably one I would add on there. Yep, I would add that one on there. Sun protection, sun care. There's going to be a few, but once you get past these, they're all going to yield pretty much the same results. Sun protection is going to give you a bunch of SPF and skin cancer related, right? It's all going to start getting repetitive. It just doesn't go much deeper than that. So in that case, this list would probably maybe have like 10 to 15 tops, and that's fine because it's a lot more niche. So just wanted to show you the contrast of what some of your lists may look like. depending on how niche or broad the category itself is. But I would do that research for every single category you have. Try and get at least 10 if possible. For the list that I made you all, I think there were, out of 101 lists, there were only 5 that got less than 10 hashtags because they were so specific. There was like, I think the least amount I got was 8. And that's okay. But the bulk, I was able to get much more than 10. So you'll do the research, fill those out, and then at that point, you are finished with your research. Perfect. So now that we've conducted all of our research, and make sure y'all can hear me. Okay, you guys can hear me. So now that we've conducted all of our research, we need to transfer all of our lists into HishHash, because this is the app that will scramble our categories and create brand new lists for every post. So I'm going to show you how to do that and also how to use the app itself here in just a second. This is what HishHash looks like in your app store. All right, so there's one for Android and there's one for iPhone. I don't even know how I found HishHash, but I thank God that I did, because it's one of the best apps that I've ever used. It is so intuitive, it's easy to use, and it works perfectly every single time. So I highly recommend it. I know that there are other apps that allow you to use hashtags. There are other apps out there that allow you and like help you research your hashtags. And actually HishHash, there is an option to search more hashtags on HishHash, but I don't use it for that, because to me, when it comes to analytics and when it comes to hashtags on Instagram, I want that to come from Instagram. I feel like it's never going to be more or as accurate as what will come from Instagram itself. So although HishHash has the ability to help you find additional hashtags, I don't use it for that. I just use it to get my hashtags scrambled and then put into Instagram. But everything else, like, it works. I mean, I'm sure their research part is great too, but that's what I use it for, and it is fantastic. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to transfer the list that you just made in Google Sheets into HishHash, and then I'll show you how to use, or how I use HishHash myself. And by the way, this is all going to be on your phone. So at this point, you're going to be on your phone. I'll tell you what apps you need to download and everything, and show you how to use them right now. Okay, so once you are on your phone, you need 2 apps. You need the Google Sheets app, which is down at the bottom with that green sheet of paper. And then, let me close out of that. And then you need the HishHash app, which is right there in the middle, the light blush pink with the hashtag. So both of those are free in your app store. So once those are downloaded, you will then go to Google Sheets, and it translates like perfectly to your computer. So as long as you're linked online and everything, then all of those files that you opened on your computer will also be in here. So we're going to open that file that we just had open on the computer. There are all of your hashtag lists. And whenever you're ready to transfer them into HishHash, you will then click on or tap on the first hashtag in that category. And then you are going to go to that blue dot in the corner, in the bottom right-hand corner, and just, and then just slide your finger down to where it highlights that whole row. And then once you get it highlighted, you're going to tap again and hit copy. Okay, remember what category it is. So it's beauty, makeup category. So then you will go into HishHash, and I already made one testing it out. And then you are going to hit that blue plus sign in the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to name it beauty makeup or whatever you want to name it. Hit add. And then in that upper box where it says add tags, you're going to tap twice and then hit paste. And all of those tags are going to be pasted in a row. And then you just hit add tags. And then they are all in there for you. And at that point, you just go back and you see at the very top, you have that new category ready to go. And then you will just repeat that process. You'll just go through and decide what other categories that you want and that makes sense for your business. And then you will do the same thing for all of those. Whoops, come on. I'll show you one more time. Copy. Oops. I forget which one this was. Women entrepreneurs, maybe. Okay, add tags. And then if you ever see any that you don't want in there, all you have to do is just swipe to the left and hit delete. And then if you ever want to add more to any of these, you just tap on whatever category, and then you can just add more at the top. You can do them individually, you can paste a bunch in there, and then edit and add as you see fit. And then at that point, you are finished and you are ready to use these on Instagram. And what you'll do at that point, the app's acting funny. Let me close this out now. Okay, so whenever you are ready to add these onto Facebook, let's say you're making a post, or I'm sorry, Instagram, let's say you're making a post and you say, okay, this is about Instagram and leadership, and it's for mompreneurs, and you'll select all the categories that make sense. You will shuffle your tags. And what I do, since I post my hashtags in the first comment, and you want to do that really quickly, so what I do is I double check them first before I paste them into Instagram. So I open up my notes app, I paste them in there, I go through and I delete any that I don't need on that specific post. And HishHash will make you automatically a list of 30. Okay, get that how you want it to look, and then re-copy it. And then from there, you can open up Instagram and paste them onto whatever caption that makes sense. Obviously, you would want to do this very, very quickly after you hit post, but I'm just showing you right now what you would do. And then you can hit post at that point. And that's it. We're getting through it, guys. We're almost done. And finally, we have made it. Now you are officially ready to hashtag like a boss. Remember, for each of your posts, you'll want to use HishHash to shuffle you a new set of hashtags using the relevant categories. And before you post your hashtags, just make sure that you scan over the list to be sure that all of the hashtags are appropriate and relevant, and then just simply delete the ones that are not. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Actually, no, hold on just a second. Just a second. Nope. Okay, I messed up the wording on this slide. So this is right, exactly what I just said. You, of course, exactly want to go through, scan over that list. I'm going to show you how to do that in the video. But what this slide should have read is, don't forget, you want to post your hashtags very, very quickly in that post if you post it in the first comment. So remember, you can post your hashtags either within the caption, which if you do that, you're good. It's going to happen. They're going to post automatically, obviously. But if you do them in the first comment, then you are going to want to have them ready to go and ready to copy and paste ASAP right after you hit post. So that is what I'm showing you in this video. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I add my hashtags as fast as possible into the first comment of my Instagram post. So I'm actually about to post this graphic on Instagram right now. I've already pasted my caption from Planoly, so that's really important. You want to go ahead and have that pasted because you're about to copy all of your hashtags. So I have that ready to go, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of Instagram and open up Hash. And from here, I'm going to choose out of all of my categories, which categories make the most sense for what I'm posting about. So I want some industry tags. I want some leadership. I'm going to choose mompreneur, positive inspo, and women leaders. And actually, I'm going to take off leadership. Okay. Hit shuffle tags, they're copied to the clipboard. Now I also want to double check them and delete any that don't make sense. So what I do is I open a new note, I paste those hashtags in there, and then I just go through and any that don't make sense for that specific post, I'm just gonna delete. So let me just go through these really quickly. I'm not going to take too much time here. And Hash makes you a list of 30 automatically unless you specify otherwise. So I know that these are 30 and anything that I delete, it won't be a big deal. I'll still have around 20, I'm assuming. So that looks good. So I'm going to recopy this list and then I'm going to go back to Instagram. And because I'm not going to add them to the actual caption, because I don't want it to distract, and also the caption's really, really long, so I'm going to hit share. Okay, and then immediately, as fast as I can, I'm going to paste those in there. And that's it. Okay. And also, like I mentioned earlier, you will want to keep an eye on your analytics to be sure that your hashtags are working and you're getting reach and followers from your hashtags. Now, you will not begin to see an accurate number until at least 12 hours or so after posting. You'll start seeing numbers within the first hour, but like a more accurate number until at least 12 hours after posting. But probably closer to 24. And if you did a really good job with your hashtags and you end up on a top post for one or a few of the hashtags, and you stay in the top posts for those hashtags for a while, that number, the analytics on that post can continue growing for a while. So like I said before, it's happened to me where I posted a quote graphic and for several weeks, I was still getting attention and engagement on that post, even though I had posted several times after that because I had ranked in the top post for a couple of those hashtags and I stayed up there for a while. So I basically hit the jackpot for hashtags and I stayed up there for a really long time, which is why I kept getting that engagement. So that's kind of considered a viral post, which is where you keep getting that, which is possible and awesome when it does happen. All right, so I just want to give you a comparison of what the numbers can look like after 2 hours of posting and then days after posting, just to give you an example of the difference between your numbers. So as you can see, this was a post, this was about 2 hours after I posted it. And I just checked to make sure that I did have a number and there was the hashtags down here and and 273 people had seen my post from the hashtag and I had gotten 5 new followers. So that's awesome. That tells me, okay, my hashtags are working. We're good to go. Now this is the same post days after posting and you can see that number is much, 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 much higher, 2,800. And whenever you get to that level, I mean, you can see I got 53 new followers from that post alone. So unfortunately, not all of my content is this banging. I wish it was, but every once in a while I get it right. And then again, this is the power of pairing good content with good, strong hashtags, because as you can see, because of that, 46% of the people that saw that post were not following me. 46%. So 8,900, almost 9,000 people saw that post, and almost half of them were not following me. So I reached however many that is, because of good engagement and then good use of hashtags. So you can see how powerful that is. And I just wanted to give you an example of the difference in numbers to be looking out for whenever you do this yourself. All right. Now, don't forget, the goal here is to get in the top posts for your hashtags, right? That's the goal. And how you get there is not from your audience size. It is from quick, high engagement. All right. So, and that determines how well you perform in your own feeds with your own algorithm, hashtags aside. You want a lot of people to show you love on your content as fast as possible. And then this is going to help you get into top posts for one or all of your hashtags. All right. So how you do this, two big things that are really going to help you get faster engagement on your posts. One, call to actions. Okay. So these are things, and if you go to my Instagram right now and you were to look at some of my posts, you see that most of them that are business related have some sort of call to action. It might be save this for later to refer to later on. Tag a girlfriend below who needs this. Share this in your stories if this motivated you. Comment below if you think this or this, right? Like, tell your people what to do on your post. Save, share, tag, comment below, because it prompts people. Maybe they want to anyway, but then they might get distracted and they'll forget. But if you prompt them somewhere in your caption, usually either up high or maybe right at the end, after they've finished reading, that will remind them, oh yeah, I do want to tag a girlfriend in this. That was awesome. Or I would love to share this in my stories. Or actually, I would love to save this for later because this was really helpful. So call to actions are going to help get higher engagement on your posts, which is what we need to get in the top post rank. And posting at the right time for your audience is going to be really helpful too. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, but there is a right time to post for your specific audience. Your right time is very different from my right time because we have very different audiences. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can figure out what the right time is for your specific audience, but you do need a business account in order to see this information. I think there are other apps out there that might say that they can show you this information, but again, I get nervous about trusting third-party apps when it comes to these analytics because Instagram likes to keep it pretty tight anyway. So this is just another perk to getting a business account if you don't already. So let me show you how you can access that information. Okay, so to see the best time for you to post for your specific audience, you will, of course, need a business account, but what you'll have to do is you're going to click on the hamburger menu in the upper right-hand corner, the three horizontal lines. You are going to click on Insights, and then you are going to click over to Audience. And this is going to show you all kinds of insights for your specific audience, but what you'll want to do is scroll all the way to the bottom, and down at the bottom, you will see a bar graph that shows you the best time to post for specific days. So make sure that it's on the right day. So right there it says for Sundays, I'm going to scroll over to whatever day it is, and then it will tell me, and if you tap or untap on the bars, it'll tell you the actual numbers, and it'll tell me that the amount of people in my specific audience that are online typically during those time frames. So that tells me that on Tuesdays, I should be posting between 12 and 6 p.m. in order to reach the most amount of people for my audience. On Wednesdays, it's about the same. On Thursdays, it looks like 3 p.m. is the best time frame. And it's not perfect time. That's just, of course, ranges. Fridays, it gets to be 12 to 6. Weekends usually are a little different. Okay, so that's how you'll find. Just make sure you're on the right day, and then just try and aim for those time slots, and you'll be good to go. Okay, and then the last step to hashtagging like a boss, like the boss that you are, is refresh your list every few months. So the best part of this whole system, even though I know y'all, like this is boring, it is tedious, the last thing that you want to do if you are anything like me is research and create hashtag lists. It's not fun. But the best part about it is that you only have to do it once, one really, really good time. And then every few months, like 3 to even 6 months, if you've done a really good job, or if you buy my list, you can stretch it out to around 6 months. Only then do you have to update your list. And updating or refreshing means just adding in a few new hashtags to those lists. Okay, so like 5 to 10 each, whatever you can find, because people will start using new hashtags. Smaller hashtag populations will get bigger, bigger populations will get even bigger. So some of them might not make sense for you anymore. So you do want to do a quick run through. If there's some hashtags that you're using that you know are just way too popular, but you added it anyway because you needed something in there, maybe delete those and replace with something else. If there's some that are way, way, way too small, delete them, add with something else. But that's all you have to do. Like I would say, rule of thumb, every quarter, just make a note in your calendar. Every quarter, refresh your list. Just add in 5 to 10, take away some, and that's it. So you just do this one good time, or you purchase the list that I did for you, and then create like whatever list that you need to supplement the ones that are missing. And then you only have to update them every once in a while, and you are golden. All right. Guys, that is the end of this training. Yay. Thank you for everybody who has stayed on the whole time. I apologize for the small, short little tech difficulties there in the middle, but we have made it, and now I'm going to answer y'all's questions. So if you have any questions that I did not cover in the training, or some things that you are wondering about, please, now is your time to submit those. I see there are a few people on live right now. So go ahead and type those in, and I'm going to scroll up and see if there are any questions that I missed. And also let me know what you thought of this too. I would love to know. Okay, so Sarah asked, will this be available? And I already answered that, but I'll answer it again for anybody else who's wondering. This video is going to stay in this group forever until I update it again. So if you are in this group, you get access to this forever. So if you ever need to come and rewatch, or if you forget something, this will be here. I'm also going to organize this training in units, and those smaller videos that I added in this training, like the research and how to use Hishhash and how to post, I'm going to upload those separately in this group, so that if you need, like if you forget something specific and you need to rewatch one of those smaller videos on how to do something with the app or the research, you don't have to watch this long video. You can just go and see those individually. So I'll do that here in the next few days. You'll see it all organized in units. It'll all be very clear what each of the videos are. That way it'll be very easy for you to watch later on if you need a refresher on something. Okay. So Janine asked, is there an easy way to check every so often for banned hashtags for the ones I regularly use in my hash lists without having to type every hashtag separately, just in case one was recently banned? Janine, I wish there was. And this is a really good question, because if you search online for banned hashtags, you will find so many lists of people who are claiming that these hashtags are banned, but Instagram changes it all the time. Like maybe a hashtag might be banned for a short amount of time and then it's not. So again, this is another example of like being cautious of third parties showing you or like giving you analytics or something outside of Instagram. Like go to Instagram. So Janine, what I do is, this is the power of keeping an eye on your analytics. So after I make a post and I know that I use hashtags, I always, within the day or so, just do a quick check on that post analytics to make sure that hashtags have registered. If they've registered, none of them are banned. If they have not registered and it's been past, 4 hours or so, one of those hashtags is banned. And then from there, you can take that specific list and look, which will be a lot faster than having to go through your lists on hash, which is going to take a lot longer. Okay, so Janine, if you're still on, let me know if that's helpful. Lydia asked, is it a good or bad idea to use a hashtag that they might use? For example, if you're targeting brides, would you hashtag engaged? Absolutely. Oh yeah, if you are a photographer and you want to shoot weddings and you want engaged couples to find your content, that would be the niche target category that I was talking about, right? Like those are the ones that you want. Those are the hashtags that people will use to find you, or that they're searching, that your ideal client would search to find you. So yes, if you want to book more weddings, obviously you're going to have to target people who are engaged or who know that they're going to be engaged soon. So yes, Lydia, exactly. You want to get creative and have at least like 1 or 2 categories in there with engaged hashtags, soon to be married, or if they're like couple hashtags, I don't know if there are. You'd want to get creative and throw some of those on your content, because if they're engaged, that's what they're going to be searching, or they might come across you and find your content as well. So yeah, that's very, very good idea. Okay, so I've reached the end of the questions. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes. Anybody else have any last minute questions? Whoops. Before I pop off? And I think what I'll do too, because I know a lot of people will be watching this later on because people are at work or with their kids. So if you are watching the replay and you see this later on and you have a question that I did not cover in the video, feel free to type it below, because I'm going to be popping in and out of the group. And if it's something that I have not covered yet, I will answer within the comments as well. So if you're watching in the future, feel free to update it. Katie, how do you feel about tagging a location on a post? If it makes sense, if it makes sense, that's perfectly fine, Katie. So like, I know that you post a lot of Disney content for your business. So yeah, you would want to tag Orlando, Florida, or California, or wherever that specific location is, and that can be helpful for anybody who actually like searches that location. I think that that's always a good idea if it makes sense for your post. It's not a bad idea. I just wouldn't obviously only do that, because think about it. If people are searching Orlando, only a small percentage would be searching Orlando, Florida because of Disney World. They might be searching Orlando for a million other reasons. So this is the power of also using hashtags as well. So you can categorize your content way more specifically than just the location. Or I think you meant like actually tagging the location, like in the post, like right before you hit post, you can tag your location. And then I already covered in the training using hashtags specific for locations, which I would do that too, Katie. Any other questions? Give y'all just a minute and then I'm gonna pop off here. Thank you, Katie. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, guys, so I think that's all of the questions. Like I said, if I sign off and you think of another one, type it in. I'll get back to it. But thank you for everybody who stayed on live with me and everybody else who's going to watch this in the future. I hope this served you. I hope you enjoyed this. If it did help you in any way, I would love to know. Let me know. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. And I will see you soon. Bye. Hi friends. Okay, so a couple of you brought it to my attention that Instagram has recently changed how we can search and find hashtags. So in hashtag like a boss, I show you how you can get on your computer or you can get on your phone, search a hashtag, and it will give you a bunch of like related, suggested, similar hashtags. Well, now those are gone, which is super annoying. I'm not sure why they would do that. So fingers crossed, this is a temporary thing. But I'm going to show you right now an alternative to finding similar hashtags that I feel like it's going to take a little longer because suggested hashtags gave you kind of like a broader spectrum. But this is all we can do right now. And again, fingers crossed that things go back to the way they were. And one more thing, you cannot search hashtags on your computer anymore. I mean, they'll come up, but they won't show you what the population size is, and like I said, all the suggested ones are gone. So until things go back to normal, if they do, you have to do all of your new hashtag research on your phone, which is what I'm going to show you. Okay, so now whenever you go to research hashtags, what you're going to do is tap on the search button, click on that, and then you're gonna hit tags first, and then type in whatever hashtag that you are searching. So if we're looking for solopreneur, then from here, this is where you're gonna scroll and write down whichever ones make sense for your business and your content, and then look at the population size as well. So these ones with 20.1 thousand posts, that's good. 169, that's awesome. 56.1, really good. Solopreneur, 1.4 million. I would still add that to the list personally. All right, so the downside of this is all of them have solopreneur in it. The old way that we used to be able to do would show a bunch more broad spectrum and show other words that were similar to solopreneur. So this is where it's going to take a little bit longer. All right, so if we were going to search mom life, same thing. Whoops. See, if you click on it, there's no suggested tags. But right here, same thing. So you would just make a list that way. Now, something else you can do to get the more broad spectrum of ideas, like if your brain isn't coming up with other ideas that are similar to mom life, what you could do is tap on that and then choose one of the top posts that looks like somebody similar to you, and then see what other hashtags they're using to give you some more ideas. And then from there, what you can do is see she has like YouTube mom, mom blogger, stay-at-home mom. So from there, you can click on one of those, and what you'll have to do to get similar ones to that, you'll have to search that stay-at-home mom, and then do the same thing. So that is what we'll have to do right now to research new hashtags. And let's just all collectively pray that they bring back the suggested tags like they did have before. Good luck.